Welcome to another episode of Let's Talk Utes. This week we are going to be going over everything Utah football related for this season. Schedule predictions, offensive and defensive previews, X factors, everything you'll need to, be ready for the season. Let's jump right into it. Let's start with the defense right now. Landon, what are your initial thoughts on Utah's defense coming into the 2025 season?
Yeah, Utah's defense was pretty solid last year, kind of what you've come to expect from a Utah defense, but we have for sure lost some production, especially on the defensive line, defensive tackle specifically, with the transfer of Tanavasa, as well as people like Junior Tafuna just running out of eligibility. There's definitely going to be a bit of a hole to fill there. I mean, early reports is that we are having some of the younger guys step up, like Kafusi, Dallas Valkalahi, who got a little bit of play last year, is looking super solid. So, in my opinion, on the defense, I do think that it's kind of a wait and see scenario in some ways, especially on the defensive line. But yeah, I'll let you guys handle defensive backs, linebackers, but defensive line specifically, could have some solid games, could have some rocky games. We'll have to see.
Yeah, I think that is the really swing position on the defense for me because it's just a place where we have almost no experience. Like Vamahi and Fano and Vakalahi have a little bit of experience, probably Fano the most out of those three. But outside of that, you just don't really see a ton on the defensive line. And so how quickly they can round into shape, be able to stop the run, I think that's huge for Utah's defense and something I'll be watching, heavily versus the first few games of the season.
Logan Fano, this is like his first offseason fully healthy after that ACL tear. And so, it's going to be interesting to see, is he going to be back to what he was when he was alongside with Jonah Ellis, like the dog he was. I think he has that potential. I just think maybe he's going to be that focal point for most offensive lines to target. And so hopefully maybe some people step up on that defensive line like you guys talked about. I think everybody else on the defense is really solid. The secondary is electric, probably one of the better secondaries Utah's had. I do think we are missing that number one, that lockdown corner that and Utah defenses in the past had with Jalen Johnson, Clark Phillips, to name a few. But I feel like Smith Soden, if all things go according to plan, he's ready to step up in that, and everything's been sharing that he has taken that leap, which is really, really nice to see. The safeties are just amazing. Robert Evans, Teo Johnson. You got Jackson Benai, all these other guys that you saw in the spring game made some cool plays. You got some really good guys. I think we're going to make some really, really amazing plays for Utah. And then, the linebacker room is just loaded with experience and really nice players.
Yeah, overall, I actually really like the defense, and a big part of that is the secondary, like you were touching on. I think that Teo Johnson's going to be one of the best safeties in college football this year. He just has so much speed. He has a good feel for the ball. He's good at reading the quarterback's eyes. I think he'll be super solid. And I think kind of the combo of Snowden and Scooby Davis are going to be great on the outside in coverage. I think, at least early reports, both of them have taken a leap this year into that number one, kind of number two corner. And Morgan Scalley, you've learned to trust him over the years. He's feeling pretty good about these defensive backs.
We got a lot of guys that transferred in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think Scooby Davis is incredible. To me, he's the number one cover corner on this team by quite a distance.
Agreed.
I think he's that good. Yeah, when he came in last year after the injury to Kenan Johnson, he dominated right away. I thought he was so good. So I'm excited to see him play. What we go with at the cornerback 2 spot, still to be decided. I think Blake Cotton from UC Davis was kind of the favorite, Witt said, to maybe get that cornerback 2 spot, but it doesn't sound like, Don Saunders I think he's from Texas A&M, or, some of the other guys in that room are too far behind. So I think, honestly, the depth at corner this year is really, really deep. We could withstand a couple injuries there. Even, hopefully we don't have to, but I think we could.
Guys like J.C. Hart, you got Jalen Monson, other transfers coming in. Those guys, they look great on tape. I'd be remiss to say, not talking about, obviously we losing Cam Calhoun on that cornerback room does hurt us. He probably would have been that number one guy that we're thinking Scooby or Smith can be. So, obviously missing him is going to suck. Him going to Bama, good for him. And then, but dude, it's this corner room. It's exciting.
Yeah, I like the linebacker room a lot this year also. Lander Barton coming back for another year. He was dealing with a little bit of an injury last year that hampered his lateral movement. I don't know if this is for sure true, but I heard that he was playing with a steel plate in his cleat for quite a few games last year, and that was kind of really hurting his lateral movement, his burst, his explosiveness. Reports are that he's fully healed from that, and he should be back more to the speed and agility and maybe that better tackling we saw in his first season. So that's something to be excited for. Also, Lavani Damouni, Stanford transfer, kind of a veteran guy in the linebacker room. He was out all last year with an injury. He's back this year. So that should be a great opportunity for him to kind of, just show that skill set that he's developed. He's super solid, especially in the run game.
Yeah, for me, someone else you didn't mention, Johnu Hall.
I was
I
leaving him
think
for
he is
you.
a special talent.
Dude,
Honestly,
we're all
like
John
I,
Hall believers.
Oh, yeah.
yeah, like honestly, like I think a lot of Utah fans would think this is a hot take. I think he is the best defensive player on the team. Like I think that highly of him. The talent
Agreed.
reminds me so much of like Devin Lloyd, and the way he just flew around and found the ball last year was, something we haven't seen since then, honestly. And so, I think he could be a star in the making, like all-American type guy. I think he's that good.
I mean, after the Mooney injury and then Karenni Reed out for a few games in the beginning of the season, he had to come in and step up. Was a he was a safety, went down to linebacker, and you saw it. His coverage was incredible, and he was like attempted everywhere on the field. And I wouldn't be surprised if he's the best player on the defensive side of the ball. I mean, we have so many guys that can step up and be that guy. John O'Hull is my pick as well. I think he's going to be so special this year.
Yeah, I mean, talking about guys that have kind of been recovering from injuries, I think Logan Fano is going to have a great year on the D line. I think he leads the teams in sacks by a fair margin. Because if you remember, I believe, did he tear his Achilles 2 years ago? Was it an Achilles tear?
I think it was Achilles. Yeah,
Or
I think
ACL. No,
I'm pretty sure
ACL.
it was
ACL.
Achilles.
ACL, not
Oh,
Achilles.
yeah, okay.
It was ACL,
yeah.
yeah. Achilles is the worst one. But
Yeah.
ACL tear, it's kind of a 2-year recovery. And so he was playing last year, but he might not have been back to 100% health. This year, they're saying that he's kind of back to 100% health. He's poised to dominate again. For those of you that remember that Jonah Ellis, Logan Fano duo before Logan got injured, it was so interesting because Jonah Ellis was up there at the top of the country in like sacks, but Logan Fano was leading the country in like pass block win rate in quarterback pressures. And so it was almost this 1-2 punch where Logan Fano would get off his block, push the quarterback into Jonah Ellis, who would then get the sack. So I'm really excited for what Fano can do this year.
I mean, when you go
Yeah.
one-on-one with your younger brother every single day, who's going to be a top 5, top 10 pick in NFL draft, I mean, it's kind of hard not to be good.
Yeah.
Him and Spencer. I mean, we'll talk about the offensive line in a little bit, but Logan's going to be really good. And I think, like I said earlier, like I'm just intrigued to see because I think he's going to be the focal point of that defensive line from the offensive for the offenses we play this year. If one person or two more people can step up and help him, this defensive line could be really special. Like it's a lot of question marks, but I think the talent is there that they can still be really, really effective.
Yeah, I think a couple of those guys that, could step up are potentially Cash Dillon or Lance Holtzclaw. We've heard really good reviews about both of them. I think they're both more kind of in a pass rusher mold rather than like run stopper Van Fillinger type. So it will be interesting to see, like what we do in the run is, lighter defensive ends, a little bit lighter on the defensive tackles as well. But I mean, I think from a pass rushing perspective, Cash Dillon, Logan Fano, that sounds like a pretty good one too to me.
Yeah.
And then you got like, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. Scally's talked a little bit briefly that he's kind of cooked up some new defenses. He believes our defensive end room is so talented and so deep that he's cooked up some schemes to get 2, 3, even 4 potentially defensive ends on the field at the same time. And so I think as a Utah fan, that's something to look out for. If you look at the D line and you're like, whoa, we have like Fano, John Henry Daly, Cash Dillon, like Lance Holtzclaw. Like, whoa, we got 2, 3, or 4 of these guys on the field at the same time. I think that's the reason. Some of these guys are just so good, you can't keep them off the field.
Yeah, I think especially that's interesting in like a Big 12 where maybe the offensive lines aren't quite as big as what you'd see from like an SEC or Big 10 teams, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Like they're not having to go against like an Oregon offensive line, which is like really like a lot of massive guys or someone in the SEC. Like the lightness of the defensive tackles may not hurt us as much as it would have maybe in a Pac-12 era.
Oh yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, speaking of some defensive tackles, I mean, few freshmen that you'll probably see a lot play this year: Carson Kusafisi, and then Pupu
Kafusi.
Kufusi.
Yeah.
What did I say? What did I say?
Kusafisi, I think.
Kafusisi.
It was
Yeah,
like a
something.
mix of like
That's my bad.
Mokafisi on the
Yeah.
offensive line. Yeah.
Carson Kafusi, there, you go. And then Pupu Saloana. I can never say it.
Sepulona, Pupu
Sepulona.
Sepulona.
There you go, I'll get it now. But those two guys, I mean, we've heard a lot of good things about them. I mean, freshman defensive tackles at Utah. I mean, they step up a lot of the time. I mean, that's what happened to Kanavasa. I mean, somebody got hurt. He came in and he was a dog, and then he was a dog for the last 2 years for us. So I'm excited to see if any of those guys make some really good leaps this year. I think Kafusi is like the guy. He has the size to start to play right away. I think, and he'll probably get a lot of play.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
mean,
think the quarterback injuries have kind of like taken the spotlight, but a position that we've been so destroyed at the last couple years with injuries is DTs, and we can't have that this year. Like we really cannot miss guys, or else it gets thin quick. So it has to be much better than the last couple years health wise.
yeah, changing the conversation a little bit. I'm interested what Scally has cooked up strategy wise this year because you saw last year we were kind of starting to play more zone coverage, and I think Scally mentioned that we're putting in some more different zone coverage packages and things this year to try and force more turnovers. Scally's been really big on this year. We want more turnovers, we want more takeaways, we want to create more chaos, and so I'm really interested to see what Scally can do going into this next year with the personnel he kind of has because he has people like Smith Snowden, where he said Smith Snowden might be our outside corner. He might be playing nickel. You know, he's going to be moved kind of all around the field. And so that mixed with more zone coverage, plus like what should be a pretty good pass rush. I'm interested to see if Utah can force some more turnovers this year.
Yeah, I think we have a lot of like athletic and fast guys on this defensive this year. I think zones are going to be really intriguing. I think we got a lot of players that can cover a lot of ground, especially in the secondary and the safety room. I mean, Teo Teo is a true tough guy. Like, and
Yeah.
he's definitely gonna be able to make some really great plays. I think he might lead the team in interceptions this year. I'm hoping.
I could
We
see
need
that.
somebody to kind of step up. That was something that last year was the defense was great, but like we barely caused any turnovers. It felt like, especially
Oh, we
like
didn't. Yeah.
the latter half of the year. I mean, the beginning we had some pretty decent turnovers. I mean, but like outside of like maybe 2 games last year, like the Iowa State game, obviously with pick six from Lander, but then I can't think of another interception or forced turnover outside of
Well,
the Baylor game.
Scooby Davis had one against Baylor, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, that outside of
Like
the
a really
Baylor and
nice
Iowa
pick.
State game,
Yeah.
that's like the only ones I can think of, and that's just not can't happen for Utah.
Yeah, it was definitely a super down year as far as the turnovers go. And like Landon mentioned, Scally said that was a key emphasis. The fact they were still top 25, no support from the offense whatsoever, really, on the field all the time and, not forcing a lot of turnovers, that's honestly like pretty miraculous to
Yeah.
still be, that good of a defense.
It just shows how good Scally and his guys are, and then obviously we just have some good. We have some dogs on the defense side of the ball.
Yeah, one more thing on the defense. Do you guys think it will be better or worse than last year? Because I think that we'll generate more turnovers, but I also think that the talent is maybe slightly less than last year, especially on that defensive line. I kind of think we're going to be about the same. Like I think that, maybe people are looking for a big step up. I'm not sure that we see that, but like if we held where we were defensively, I think that's pretty good.
I think on paper we're definitely worse. I mean, losing some of the best production on the defensive tackle and the tackle room on the defensive line, and then obviously some really great corner play from a few other guys. It definitely hurts us. But I think like Utah's defense this year is gonna thrive in the chaos. Like it's just gonna. I think on paper they're worse, but in reality, I think they're gonna seem slightly better because I'm hoping that turnover change that Scally is focused on is going to be a big factor. And I think a lot of the athletes that they have, and like we talked about, is just going to create a lot of chaos for offenses to struggle with. And I think that's going to benefit them in the long run.
Yeah, I think the defense, this is my take. I think the defense will give up more yards per game. Scoring will be similar in terms of how many points per game they're giving up, but turnovers will go up. Because I
I
think
like that. Yeah.
last year, I mean, teams are doing their scouting report. They kind of know, how much are we going to have to score to win this game? I think last year, a lot of teams were going into games saying, like, hey, we got to score like 21, maybe 28, and we've probably got this game. And that affects your
Maybe
game
10
plan.
points.
And then as well,
Yeah, don't turn the ball over.
Yes, we
Yeah.
weren't like leading these teams. And so they knew if we give them the ball with bad field position, we're probably getting it right back. And so these teams didn't
Yeah.
take risks. Like, even like, 2nd and 12, they're not going to try anything risky. They'll probably just run it, just run it 2 more times, see if they can get the first down. So that was a factor that I think led to Utah generating less turnovers. I think this year with the more explosive offense, we're going to have opportunities where we're playing from ahead. We might be up, even if you're just up 10 points. The other team, you're down 10, suddenly it's like, man, these pass plays are looking really good. Like, we might need to air the ball out a little bit. And so I think
Yeah, like when you start scoring.
I think that could potentially lead to more yards for the other team per game, but also more turnovers. And so I think when you kind of average all of that out, I think it will be similar to last year in terms of scoring.
Yeah, and it doesn't help the defense that they're on the field so often last year, especially the latter half of the season. I mean, 3 and out every other drive or every drive doesn't help the defense when, I mean, if they're coming out like, bro, we just stop them, go score a point, and we can't. And so it's like they're back out there. It's just, I think this year having a better offense, like Landon said, is going to create so much more opportunities.
Yeah, I think so as well. Any last thoughts on the defense before we move over to the offense?
Who's like your guys' standout guy? I think we talked about Teo, we talked about Scooby, we talked about Jono, but like, who's your specific guy that you think this is the breakout player for Utah's defense this year?
I'm going to go.
For me, it's Jonu.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you can say breakout player. I think Logan Fana is going to be better than anyone expects. Like, I think he'll be like bona fide, like first team, all Big 12 potentially at the defensive end spot, even over a lot of the talented players in the Big 12.
Yeah, I think I'm going to stick with Jono. I mean,
He's a beast, man. He's so good.
He's so good. I really think he's going to be a household name this year. He's going to be like, wow.
I'm tempted to say
special.
Smith or Teo either. Smith and
Teo
Teo,
is
I both
definitely
think are going to
better.
have great years.
Yeah.
Seems
When we
to be
talk
good.
about X factors later, we can talk about, who we'll choose for
love
X
it.
factor for offense and defense.
Love it.
Okay, let's move on to the offense. Obviously, the offense last year, terrible. I think the only worst Power 5 offense was Michigan. Yeah, I mean, it wasn't good. We just had a super archaic system with a coordinator who couldn't adapt, quarterback with no experience, true freshman, trying to fill in for a guy with, 7 years of experience. Did not go well. So what are you guys' thoughts on kind of the new offense that we brought in this year, complete rebuild?
Yeah, I'm actually going to focus on someone who's not even a player on the team. It's the offensive coordinator, Jason Beck. I think when this hire was first going down, Utah was kind of in the mix for Arbuckle from Washington State. But honestly, Jason Beck, the more I've looked into it, the happier I am with this hire. He's someone who has ties to the state of Utah, so he's someone who might be a little more loyal, kind of sticking around. And I like his system a lot. They play fast, but they're not rushing. That's a quote from Witt, actually. We play fast, but we don't rush with Jason Beck. So I like what he's bringing. It's a more dynamic offense. It's an offense that's much easier and more simple for the players on your team. But honestly, it's just as hard, if not harder, to defend for the players on the other team than, say, Ludwig's system. We always at Utah, we had a big problem with players learning the playbook. And then Spencer Fano even said Ludwig's system was kind of militaristic. And so I get from that, these plays are kind of complex. There's a really big focus on perfect execution. They're not going to run a play that's not, they haven't had a ton of reps and run it perfectly. And you can definitely get to some pitfalls with that because you can only put in so many plays that way. And sometimes you're hamstringing yourself trying to find the perfect play for every down. You take the full 40 seconds, find the perfect play. Sometimes just going fast and getting the ball to your athletes is going to do way more for you than like finding the most optimal play ever. And so I'm really excited what Jason Beck can bring with a more diverse kind of balanced run and pass game. Because at New Mexico, actually, they were 55% run, 45% pass, which that's pretty balanced.
Yeah, I mean it's more balanced than we were last
Yeah.
year. Well, it seems like we'll pass quite a bit more.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like the guy, the focal point of the offense for me is going to be Devin Dampier. I mean, if he's as good as he can be, the sky's the limit for this offense, for this team. I think it really all ends up on him. I mean, you got an offensive line that is projected top 5. Some people even say the best in the country, and you got a quarterback who's as dynamic and has that type of skill set. I mean, we haven't had that at Utah for at least 20 years. I mean, the last guy, maybe Brian Johnson, maybe, I don't know, but like he was more of a pass guy in the first place too. But there's something that like it just excites me to have like a quarterback like, wow, he can go run for 1,600 yards and pass for 3,000. Like, I don't think it's going to happen. That's a little extreme, but
It could.
Like, he has that skill set, and it's exciting to see that. And I think what's really exciting with this offense, kind of bouncing off what Landon said, at least the vibes I get from Beck, he's going to play the best guy. He's not going to play the most experienced guy. I mean, we might get a guy, Monica Carvalho true freshman from Hawaii. He might get a bunch of snaps. You never know. Tobias Merriweather. I mean, he's been throughout the whole camps. He's been the wide receiver 1. But I mean, 2 years ago under Ludwig, I mean, he wouldn't know the playbook. He wouldn't touch the ball. And it's exciting to have a coordinator and have a team that's going to be fun to watch and is going to be able to have the best guys on the field at all times. I think someone that we will talk about throughout the whole year, at least I'm hoping we'll talk about for the whole year because it'll be awesome to see, is Nate Johnson. I mean, what he can do with the ball in his hands, we saw early in his collegiate career at Utah. I mean, there's a reason he came back. They gave him the role. They told him exactly what he's going to do, and I'm just excited to see what that happens. He's going to get the ball in his hands, and I'm excited to see what Jason Beck can do with someone as dynamic as some of these players that Utah has got on offense.
Yeah, going back to kind of the new offensive system, it's really hard to like reconcile in my brain. We're not going to be seeing very much under center. We're not going to be seeing very much, like having 2 to 3 blocking tight ends on the field at a time. As we've gotten Beck and Dampier, I've gone through and I've watched pretty much every offensive snap from New Mexico last year, and it really is completely different. Tons of motion, lots of space, lots of short stuff that help the quarterback get into a rhythm, no complex, stuff like Ludwig type stuff. It's hard to even imagine Utah running a system like that. So I hope it goes really well. I hope Witt lets Beck, have free reign. Because honestly, like if he tries to curtail this system like he's done multiple times before, like we could run into some issues here. Because like if they don't play quicker, if he doesn't let guys take risks, then kind of almost it's counterintuitive to the Beck offense, and we're not going to get the results we hope. So Witt said Beck has total autonomy. I hope he really means it this time because he said that before and it hasn't worked out that way.
Yeah, this year there's even been kind of reports and people talking that Witt is a little bit kind of frustrated and fed up with the narrative that he controls the offense, he holds it back. And so I truly think that Witt is, I mean, we're not coaches. We don't know what's going on behind the scenes. It kind of feels like Witt has been encouraging offensive coordinators to play a certain way at Utah for the past like 20 years. I really think Witt is going to break out of that mold if it was his fault in the first place. So I think Utah fans have a lot to look forward to with a more dynamic, faster, genuine, honestly, just more fun offense.
Yeah. This does feel like a Utah team that has a chip on their shoulder, which is exciting. I mean, the last few years, it's kind of been like, oh, we're just better. We need to be better. But it's like at this point, it's like we need to be like, hey, like they don't think we're this good. Let's show them. And that's exciting. Having a quarterback that's been under recruited and is going to help that. Having a head coach who has 20 plus years experience who had the worst season of his career is going to do that. It's exciting. Have a new offensive coordinator in a Power 4 setting that's going to prove himself. It's going to be exciting to see it. For the first time I can remember, like, hey, this offense might be so freaking exciting to watch. Like, we might suck, but at least it's going to be fun. Which is just,
Yeah.
I can't say that for the last 10, 15 years for Utah football.
Yeah, let's drill down a little bit into kind of the headliner of, the new offense, Devin Dampier. Devin Dampier came from New Mexico. I think he's about 5'10", had almost 4,000 total yards and had 31 total touchdowns, 19 of which were running touchdowns on the ground. I mean, electric athlete, dominated in the option game, whether that's, read option or RPO. Really electric with his feet, did not take very many sacks at all. And, the accuracy was an issue, threw 12 interceptions, only 55% completed passes, so there is work to do in the passing game. But what are you guys' thoughts on Dampier? Because this is, frankly, like a super unique type of quarterback and one that kind of highlight real type player, really.
Yeah, I'm really excited to watch this dude play. Going back in time a little bit to his recruitment in his high school, I believe that he changed high schools when he was a junior, and due to the rules then, he wasn't able to play his junior year in high school, so he wasn't really on the radar being recruited by any of these big schools. I think he played most of his senior year, did well at a high school in Arizona, and after that kind of found his way to New Mexico. The year prior to last season, so 2 seasons ago, he got some minimal play at New Mexico, and I believe he actually went 6 passing touchdowns, 0 interceptions in the games that he did.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, and so he
Mhm.
was actually known as like a very not turnover prone player. He had a great season in New Mexico last year. Even though he has 12 touchdowns to 12 interceptions last year, I don't think that tells the whole story. Like, some of you buy into PFF, some of you don't. I'm kind of on the fence. I think their stuff is, it's not really, I wouldn't call it a stat. It's in between a prediction and a stat. It's like an opinion, a pseudo opinion. They believe that he only had 3, or was it even less, like 3 turnover worthy plays last year. And watching
I think it was like 10. I think it was 10. It was like less than the 12 ins he threw, but it was like he only had 10 throws.
Yeah, I think it was like, no, I genuinely think it was like 3. Like, he had like
It was definitely
high
less
radius.
than his total
Yeah,
interceptions. Because I remember there was a few Hail Mary interceptions,
There were some
a few
bad
that hit the
ones, yeah.
receiver's hands.
But even
Yeah, they
in
were
that,
all his fault. Yeah.
even in that situation, looking at some of the picks though, it's like, I remember watching one, I believe, against Utah State. There's 0 seconds in the half, and he just throws a Hail Mary while like running backwards. It doesn't matter. The half ends after that, and they get the ball back. And so
Yeah.
I think that he actually, I believe his stats will improve quite a bit in terms of touchdown to interception ratio. And I'm really excited to see what he can do in the pass game, because I think he's being slept on a little bit as a passer. Jason Beck was very vehement that, like, hey, he's not just a runner. We weren't running him a ton last year because he can't pass. We were just running him a ton because we had some injuries in the wide receiver room. We weren't getting as much of the production. Like, this dude can throw the ball. Like, Jason Beck is very confident that Dampier is going to be a high-level passer, and that makes me super excited.
Even in his initial interview, he mentioned, when we started the year versus Montana State, we thought we were going to be a throw-heavy team. Like, we thought we had 5 to 6 guys in the receiver room that were really difference makers. And, as the season progressed, it just didn't turn out that way, and they relied more on the running game. But yeah, I mean, that is fascinating that, he had that much confidence that, we're gonna dominate in the throw game this year.
Yeah, I mean, it's just exciting. I mean, the only words I can think of, man, it's exciting. I can't. Utah football's this month. We have a dynamic quarterback. We have a new offensive coordinator. The offense is going to be somewhat fun to watch. Hopefully, these guys can go well. I think another thing that's intriguing to see. I mean, Devin Dampier, as much as he can throw on the run, and that's an elite skill he has, he won't have to do that as often this year. I mean, his offensive line last year, not like to gripe on these guys, they just weren't that great. They allowed a lot of pressure, and Devin Dampier was running for his life, trying to create plays with his feet, and he probably threw some balls he shouldn't have, and all these things that led to those interceptions. But I mean, this offensive line is so experienced and so much star power on that tackles. I mean, he can have all day to throw the ball. with this offensive line, with his ability to not get sacked, I mean, the over under 5 sacks total next year, I'm taking under. Like, it's exciting. He's going to be really, really, really special. And like this, I mean, we can rave all day about this offensive line, but Spencer Fano, Caleb Lomu, Jaron Kump, guards. I can never like tie down the names every single time, but there's just so many special guys, and the offense starts with them. Like, it starts with Dampier, but it also starts with this offensive line, with how special these guys can be. I mean, if Utah is just on the top half of decent offenses this year, like we're contenders in the Big 12.
Yeah, sticking on Dampier, do you guys think he scored 31 total TDs last year, 19 rushing, 21, and 12 passing, I mean. Over under 29.5 total touchdowns for Dampier this year. So does he break 30?
I think he comes in just under that because we do have a wider kind of distribution of talent. Like, I don't see him getting 19 rushing touchdowns again. I almost think that would be, I mean, whatever's working. You know, if he's scoring a ton of rushing touchdowns, great, keep calling the plays. But I do think having people like Wayshawn Parker, you know, other helpers in the run game, I think they're going to take probably half of those rushing touchdowns, truthfully. And so even if he does improve his passing, which I think he will, I just think that replicating 19 rushing touchdowns is a really big ask. And so I have him right around like the 28, 29, truthfully, total.
What about you, Ethan?
I'll say over. Why not?
Love it.
Jump on the hype train. I love that.
Yeah.
Bro. Like,
I might have to join you.
I mean, I've said it before, but he's trying to prove something, and I think he's going to come out and he's going to ball.
I think that there is a case to be made for the over, because I think with better talent around him, there are a few games, you know, like Cal Poly or like Wyoming. Like, what if he just goes for like 5 touchdowns in each of those games? Like, I don't think that's like crazy.
Agreed.
Because like, I'm not sure they could do that at New Mexico, where they didn't have the talent gap to really just like flex on someone and score at will. But at Utah, you know, maybe there is that for a few games. You know, maybe they catch a P5, you know, maybe they catch one of the Big 12 teams on their schedule that's super injured and they just have nothing on defense left, you know.
That talent kept out in Provo, you know, we'll just run a screw up on them.
Right? Yeah, but I think I am going to go slightly under as well. And like Landon, I think that he'll pass for more touchdowns, but he'll run for a few less.
Dude, I have this vision. Sorry to cut you off, but I just have this vision as a Utah fan. I'm like, looking at what we have on offense, and I'm like, man, what if teams they can't stop the run? Like, we're just gashing them. They've got to just load the box up, you know, single high, or even just cover 0. And then Dampier, I think he's a good enough passer, and we have these speedy players like Tobias Merriweather and Nate Johnson. Like, I think we could be in for a lot of really explosive offensive plays, and that just makes me so excited as a Utah fan.
Oh, we should be able to take the top off the defense. Yes. I mean, even at New Mexico versus the P5 teams they played, they were able to do that, take shots downfield.
Yep.
So I don't see any reason why we can't, you know? It really is like, it's hard to break this mindset. It's like I mentioned before, but will it actually happen? You know, Utah every year for the last 5 years has been, oh, you know, who's the deep threat? Where are the explosive plays coming from? And the answer's been nobody, and they're not coming from anywhere.
I mean, that's another thing to talk about, Devin Dampier's completion percentage. They throw the ball downfield.
They do.
And so, like, yeah, of course, like the 50s percentage that he had last year isn't great at all. But I mean, I'd rather have him miss a deep ball downfield and go run for 7 yards if he need to, or I don't know, just go create those big plays and try those big plays that we have never had.
Yeah, and I think with the turnover avoidance, as far as both fumbles and interceptions, I think that's something that the coaching staff is going to really key in on. So I think that he'll make strides there, because I don't feel like he won't have to carry as much. He won't feel like he has to force things, especially if our defense and everyone else is playing as well as we think they are. Like, there won't be pressure on him to be like, oh, you know, we're down 2 touchdowns. I need to get us back in it right now. I'm going to throw into this tight window. Okay. Any final thoughts on Dampier? Should we move on to the rest of the offense?
The rest of the offense.
Yeah, so Ethan briefly mentioned this. Let's talk about the offensive line, because this is kind of the big thing that everyone is looking at on Utah's offense. Obviously, two first-round projected picks, Fano and Lomu, Jaron Cup at center, and then Togiai and Mokafisi at guard, who are just so experienced, all seniors. Though Kyle Whittingham himself has said this is the best offensive line he's had in his time at Utah. What do you guys think about that statement, and what are you guys expecting from the offensive line this year?
I'm excited because Witt is typically someone who under-promises and over-delivers. And so if he's saying this is the best offensive line he's seen at Utah, he truly believes that. He's not the type of coach that usually even says stuff like that. He usually keeps it super neutral. Like, yeah, they should be solid this year. So him saying that actually means a lot to me. And I think the offensive line is going to be absolutely great. I think especially in pass protection, they were relatively good. I'll be interested to see what strides they can make in the zone run game. And I'm excited about that specifically because I feel like we're getting back to playing complementary football. Coach Beck, Jason Beck, he runs a lot of these zone run plays, and our offensive line is perfectly suited to that. Like someone like Spencer Fano, that's his bread and butter, kind of getting a little more out in the open field, using that athleticism that he has. I think we are in for a treat with the offensive line this year.
Yeah. I mean, the athleticism we have at tackle is incredible. I mean, these guys are freaks. Just watching some of the counter plays we had last year with Bernard. I mean, Spencer Fano is just one of the most athletic 300-pound men I've ever seen in my life, and it's impressive. That's the reason why he's projected top 10, is what he can do at his size. And then Caleb Lomu, I mean, same thing. He's freak, 6'6", 304, and can move the way he does. It's intriguing, man. These guys, they should be the best unit in the Big 12 out of anybody by a good margin. I think they're the best position group in the Big 12 period. I don't think there's a better position group that can compete with this Utah offensive line, and I just really hope they live up to the hype. It's a little scary seeing all this hype for these guys because, I mean, traditionally for Utah, the hype never really pans out, unfortunately. I mean, look at last few years with the whole team, especially, kind of dwindled down after being projected to be in the conference championships or in the playoffs, and so I think it's going to happen. But that's something that's a little hard to swallow sometimes, just like Tanner said with the OC change, and so.
Yeah. It's hard to believe it, like in your
Yeah.
brain. After you've seen something so many times, you're like, is
Yeah.
it really going to get better?
But I trust Witt. I trust this offense. I mean, just looking at them, it's the one thing that Utah kept on the offensive side of the ball. Everything else is new.
Yeah.
And so there has to be some positive there.
Yeah, I saw a mock draft the other day where Fano went 3 and Lomu went 12. And that's honestly crazy. Like 2 top 12 picks on the offensive line is like that's like almost unheard of. It could be good. Okay, someone else I'm really interested in is, well, there's 2 guys here, Wayshawn Parker and Naquari Rogers. Wayshawn Parker, true freshman last year from Wazoo, won Pac-2 Player of the Year, Freshman of the Year, had about 750 yards, looked pretty explosive when he got it, honestly. And then there's Naquari Rogers as well, from New Mexico, familiar with Jason Beck's offense. Kind of a bit of a power back, but he has a little bit of burst as well. I've been impressed with him. What do you guys think about our running back room and that top 2 specifically at running back?
I really like the running back room. I think that both Wayshawn and Naquari are very well-rounded players. I believe both of them, they're good in pass protection. They can run up the middle, they can run outside, and I know especially Wayshawn, he's an above-average receiver out of the backfield as well. He's got great hands. I think this is a great 1-2 punch, just super solid, super consistent. I definitely see more of a top-tier potential with Wayshawn, just with him being so young and kind of the things he's been able to do, his build. He has a nice build, He's strong and physical, but he also has a good amount of speed and vision. And he's got decent moves in the open field as well. I was watching his highlights recently from Washington State, and he can make a guy miss. 100% he can. So I'm excited. I think it will be solid. Some of the guys kind of backing them up. Daniel Bray, I believe. They said he's very fast. They really like kind of what they could potentially get out of him. I don't even want to say like Dijon Stanley role because in my mind that has a slightly negative connotation with what happened last year with just Ludwig and everything. But I think that Daniel Bray is also a guy that don't be surprised if you see him getting some carries as well, maybe in more kind of outside focused stuff.
Yeah, it just seemed like just some of the clips from like scrimmage games that Utah had posted themselves. Wayshawn Parker, I mean, he can take a hit and make and and continue. Like his I'm excited to see it. Like if that's something that's part of his game, just yards after contact. I mean, just watching some of those clips, he had some some nice spin moves, kind of like that. Um, uh, like Ty Jordan play against Washington State in the COVID year where he gets hit, spins off, and reaches for the touchdown. He had a little bit of a little cool little play there that Utah, the athletic Twitter or X profile posted, which was pretty cool. And I'm excited for him. He looks like a stud. Number one, just like that jersey has some aura too. Like it's kind of it's having that aura in the backfield. Some studs back there is going to be it's fun, man. It's just you can't help but put a smile on my face seeing some exciting Utah football that has an offense that's going to be it's going to be fun to watch. But Naquari Rogers, I mean, having a experienced running back to come play with Devin Dampier, they were on the same team last year, understand the offense so well. It's got to be so nice for Beck to have these two guys come in and be leaders for this offense and help um, just take that load of teaching and everyone learning a whole new system and having your two guys they're probably going to see the ball most often just understand it so well. It's going to be really cool. See, and
Yeah,
then I mean, Landon said there's a few other guys that like they're young and who knows who's going to step up this year.
I think it was interesting how Witt said, it wasn't a bell cow situation. It was a 1A, 1B type situation. I think a lot of people, when we got Wayshawn, were like, oh, this is the guy, clear RB1. I don't necessarily think it's a bad thing that it's 1A, 1B. Like, we got to remember, like, Wayshawn Parker is a true sophomore. Like, usually it takes people a bit to be ready for that, true number one guy. And so I think it's really great to have another good guy as a senior, Nakari Rogers, just to really take the load off Wayshawn for a second while, he's developing in his college career. Okay, let's move on and talk about the receivers. This is the biggest question mark on the team to me, I think. What do you guys think about the receivers?
Very mixed bag, We lost pretty much everyone in the wide receiver room. We even lost Zacharias Williams at the 11th hour, right after Witt said that he's our wide receiver one coming out of spring, which was super unfortunate. But we brought in some talent. We have Tobias Merriweather, played at Notre Dame and Cal. He struggled with injuries, but you see the vision with him. He's 6'5", good speed, good hands, physical player. You could definitely see it. We have Larry Simmons coming from Southern Miss, I believe. He had decent production there. He's a guy that Utah might be able to count on. Adrian Zipperer, who's been with the Utes for a few years now, he might have a chance to get an opportunity. Then you have some more intriguing, some newcomers in the pass game potentially, like Nate Johnson could be someone to watch out for this year. Someone like Creed Whittemore from Mississippi State. So yeah, as you can see, a room full of transfers. I think that it's kind of an ongoing battle right now for who's going to get the most reps, but Tobias, Larry, I think have separated a little bit. Creed Whittemore up there with them have separated a little bit as the top three receivers. It's kind of a wait and see for me. I'm excited about the potential, but I've got to see it with some of these guys. None of these receivers have great like returning production or anything. They all are a little bit unknown. So I think with Beck's offense, they'll be put in a position to succeed, especially with the screens and the slants and how he can get people open on these go routes. They'll have a chance to succeed, but it's kind of wait and see for me, which I think is totally valid.
Yeah, I would say I'm cautiously optimistic about the wide receiver room. Like I think there's a lot of guys that could be pretty exciting to watch. Tobias Merriweather, Lennon talked about, he's like the one guy that's like, oh, like if he has a really good year, we like okay, we're in a really good spot. It's just like who is going to be that guy that steps
Mhm.
up? Um, it, it's it's hard to say. I mean, that's the one thing that Utah's always struggled with ever since Darian Carrington left Utah. Like, we have not had this one guy that's like, oh, he is the one. I mean, we were hoping Dorian Sear was last year. Obviously, didn't pan out. Probably not because of him, but other outside factors limited him. But there's a lot of question marks, but I'm cautiously optimistic that there's going to be a few guys that pan out.
Yeah, I think the same thing. I think we hear this every single year where it's like, oh, the wide receivers are looking good. We finally got that explosive deep passing element, and it hasn't been true. Seems like they're trying to like find something. And they're trying to convince themselves we have it, but we just haven't. Obviously Jason Beck coming in, there's more optimism from me this year, but it's really wait and see for me. Like, no one has proven anything. None of these guys have really been elite at any stop that they've had. Ryan Davis has the most production and in the system, so I'm expecting him to be featured. But like, honestly, like, it's all speculation right now. Like, they can look good in practice. You can feel confident that we're gonna have great receivers, but until they actually show it, I mean, history shows that it's unlikely. And so I think that in this offense there are easier buttons where, there's more screens, there's more short stuff. The receivers, I think, will have more production than last year. I'm almost certain of that. But like, are they going to be true difference makers? I'm not sure yet. I think I would settle for being average, to be honest with you. Let's talk about the tight ends really quick. I don't think tight end will be featured as much in Beck's system, but I think there are some guys that, are interesting to highlight, especially guys like Hunter Andrews and JJ Buchanan. Hunter Andrews has kind of been used as an all around the field weapon, in the run game and the pass game. He's been compared to Keithy. I mean, that's really high praise. We'll see if he can live up to that. And JJ Buchanan is a true freshman, kind of true pass catcher. It can go up and high point a ball as fast, as big, really looks really good. And I think people have been high on him in spring. So I think there are some interesting options for Beck to work with here.
I mean, to talk about JJ Buchanan for a quick second, I mean, the highest recruit in the 2025 cycle for Utah, according to 24/7 Sports. He's a typical, like, he's 6'4". He can catch the ball really well. I'm just excited to see what his role will be for Utah. I like his build. I like his play style, and so he's gonna be fun to see him stand out. Kind of brought up Beck's, like, probably doesn't run that traditional tight end that Utah's so used to seeing, which probably is a good thing right now. Tight end.
Yeah, we don't really have like a traditional tight end that has a lot of talent in the room, I don't think.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
it's not really been an option.
Yeah, we talked about it for years. I mean, for a long time. If you don't have an elite tight end, they shouldn't be a featured person on your team, or at least on the offensive side of the ball. And Utah, we've had that. We've kind of been spoiled with Keithy, with Kincaid, and we try to recreate that magic with some guys that it hasn't worked. I'm kind of hoping that we don't do that, try to force it this year. But if a few guys do step up in Hunter Andrews and JJ Buchanan, that'd be exciting to see.
Yeah, tight end room. I would just say to Utah fans this year, expect more Kincaid / Keithy and less like Cole Fotheringham and Carson Ryan. Like, I don't really think we have a Cole Fotheringham or Carson Ryan type tight end on the offense. We have Dallin Bentley, but I don't foresee him playing a ton. I think that when we have tight ends out there, they'll likely be lining up in the slot, and they're going to be much more of a receiving threat that can, say we are doing a zone run. They're lined up in the slot, but they can crash down and get one of those linebackers in a blocking assignment, Or maybe they're lined up in the slot and we run like a middle screen. Our wide receiver catches it, runs right behind them. I think that's more what to expect than like, we've got 3 tight ends on the field. We got Cole Fotheringham. We got Carson Ryan, 12, 13 personnel. I don't think that's really going to be a thing anymore, which I think is for the better, honestly, because I really do see a lot of upside. With JJ Buchanan especially, as well as Hunter Andrews. See, in my mind, JJ Buchanan almost is that new version of Kincaid, kind of a young lineup in the slot, go receive downfield, while Hunter Andrews is that Swiss Army knife, explosive after catch runner. So I think there is a lot, honestly, to be excited for.
You guys hear it here first. The brother Keith, the enjoyer of himself,
Yes.
Landon, has officially
Yep.
said JJ
I've dubbed.
Buchanan is the reincarnate of Brant Keithy.
Well, Hunter
Oh,
Andrews.
you mean Hunter
Oh,
Andrews?
Hunter Andrews.
Hunter
Yeah, sorry, my
Andrews
bad.
is
Hunter
carrying
Andrews.
on the mantle of Brant Keithy. That's what I believe.
There you go.
Yeah.
Heard it here first.
Yeah, Landon, but I totally agree with you about the traditional tight end. Like, honestly, if we play that a lot, we are just shooting ourselves in the foot.
Yes.
Because it takes away space from Dampier. They're not like elite blockers compared to just bringing in an extra offensive lineman. And we really don't have the talent at that traditional tight end spot to even justify it. Like, Dallin Bentley is not a good route runner. Like, 2 receptions for 15 yards and could not get open.
Yeah, and
I
he
don't
got
think
high usage too. It's not like he only played a few
Yeah.
snaps. Like he was playing a lot.
I don't think the 2 receptions, 15 yards justifies really a role in this offense, to be honest with you. Like, I understand that it's hard for Utah fans to hear. Like, it's something we've traditionally done is use those traditional type tight ends. It's just not a scheme fit with Dampier. Like, he had much more chemistry with receivers, and if we can get people split out from the line, it just opens up so much more space. If you need someone to block, bring in an extra offensive lineman.
Yeah,
We're not
I
in
agree with you.
2000s anymore.
Yeah, I mean,
Yes.
we've always had an
Go.
issue. Last season, teams would just load the box up against Utah. And instead of spreading it out, we would compact everything in more, actually, which just made it easier for them to load the box up. So this year, I would love to see a lot of like 5 wide stuff. I know we'll see a decent amount of that. Beck likes to do that, but I do think Dallin Bentley could have a role in kind of a more traditional set where he's just in as a blocking tight end. Say we're running a read option. I don't have an issue with that. I think that that's a valid usage. But Utah fans just don't expect like this multiple tight end stuff and like super heavy packages. And I think it's a good thing we're going away from that.
Yep. Overall, I mean, I don't see how there's any way that any of us think the offense could be worse than last year. Like, I'm assuming we're all going to say it's going to be better than last year. How high do you think it could go? Me and Ethan were talking a little offline, and we were saying, 35th, like in the country, would be a good baseline, I think. Like, it doesn't have to be elite. It just has to be good and like above average.
Yeah, 35th in the country would be how many points per game? Like 34, 35, maybe 36 points per game to be like 35th in the
Probably
country.
not 36. I didn't look at it specifically, but I bet it would be 33, 34. I think you're right about that.
I think points per game. I'm really high on this offense. I think I don't want to say if everything goes right, because if everything goes right, any offense could be amazing. I think if everything goes like pretty good, this offense could score like 38, 39 points per game. I really believe that. And that sounds high, but I truly think that with how dynamic Dampier is and how good this offensive line could be, if we are really establishing the run on these teams, it's going to open up so many big play opportunities.
Just for comparison, last year Utah scored 23.6 points per game, and it was ranked 102nd in college football.
And that's with laying it on SUU to like 50 points.
Yeah, Big 6 previews, they do a rank out of 68 Power 4 teams, an adjusted per play metric. We were the 66th offense. So I was thinking when we were talking offline, it's like the 35th in that metric out of the 68. So just about middle of the road for Big 12, for Power 4 conference. So there's going to be some G5 that's going to put up godly numbers on the offensive side of the ball. Every year, there's always going to be
The
those.
P4 is really what matters. Is where we are ranked scoring versus P4.
And let's go down. I'll go down right here. Last year, TCU. This is just the next team, so it kind of worked out. 33.5. They were 25th ranked in the country, or 28th total for the Pick 6 preview out of 68 for adjusted.
Right.
So if we're
I think that's a good
around
target.
there, like if we're a little bit less, a little bit more, like this Utah team can be really, really, really good, and like that's going to help us a lot. Like if we were like that last year, we're going to win 10 games. So why not do it this year?
Okay. Let's get into the schedule breakdown now. Utah this year, one of the harder schedules in the Big 12, I would say. They hit most of the teams that are, predicted to be top contenders. Starting out with a road game at, former Pac-12 foe UCLA at the Rose Bowl. Landon, how do you see this game playing out?
Dude, I have struggled so bad on this game. First game of the year, on the road, UCLA, obviously, with the headline portal edition of Nico Iamaleava. Man, it's so tough to know. At first, I was feeling pretty bad about this game. Like, I thought UCLA was going to win. And then slowly my belief in Utah kind of built up, like looking deeper into it. Like, oh, UCLA is actually fallen off a little bit in recruiting. Like, they're not returning a ton. One of their strengths last year, they had a pretty good front seven. All of those guys are gone. And so I start leaning more Utah. And then you start hearing reports where it's like, oh man, Nico's tearing it up at camp. Like, these new hires they have at OC, it's also hitting. And then I'm like, wait, where's this offensive coordinator from? And I look, it was the co-offensive coordinator at Indiana that was scoring 42 points per game. I don't like to hear that. They had one of the best systems I'd seen. I hate to hear that. I'm in just like, I don't know. I'm kind of leaning. Utah's favored by 6.5 currently. I'm still leaning. I'm going to choose Utah for the win here. But don't be surprised if this one's like kind of close. Like, I don't think this will be an easy game.
I'm gonna let my homerness kind of come
Let it out.
We win this game. I don't think the hits are gonna be. It's gonna be hard for a UCLA team to mesh. I mean, they brought in a lot. It's just gonna be interesting. I think Nico's awesome. He's a really good quarterback. And once he transferred from Tennessee over to UCLA, I was slightly concerned.
I didn't like it,
but just to kind of bounce off Landon and just kind of maybe try to make. I mean, I truly believe like the Indiana offense, the Indiana system was all about their head coach, and so I think like this assistant offensive coordinator that wasn't really a big part of their system's not going to make a huge difference for UCLA. Who knows, bro? UCLA might be the best team in the country, and I'll still say Utah wins nice and easy. Not really, but Utah going to the Rose Bowl. It's a little Pac-12 after dark at 8 p.m. local time kickoff. It's just like peak. And I think Utah playing at night. Just ask Caleb Williams. We're pretty good down there.
Okay, so 1-0 for both of you. This to me is a game that if Utah's serious this year, they have to win this game. UCLA is turning over their entire roster pretty much. They are bringing in Nico. They do have talent at certain places, but honestly, we have the more talented team, which is, crazy to say for a team that is in LA and can recruit that ground. But like, if you look at it by like what they've lost and like what they've gained in the portal, like we genuinely do have more talent than them. New coach Deshaun Foster. Well, he's not new. He's in year 2. Do we know if he's good yet? Like the offensive defensive coordinators don't have a lot of experience. Like, do we know if they're good yet? Like, I just feel like Utah's talent edge and coaching experience should win out here. If they lose this game, Utah's probably not serious this year. We're probably headed. Yeah, it's very concerning to me. Like, we're probably headed for, another 5-7 or 6-6 year. So to me, this is a really good like litmus test right out of the gate to kind of set the stage for what are expectations for Utah this year. There's so much new, but ultimately I think they're going to beat UCLA. I think it is going to be kind of a sloppy game from both sides because there's just so much new on both sides of this game. But yeah, I think Utah gets it done 1-0. Okay, let's move on to Cal Poly. Obviously, first game of the year, at home, FCS game, pretty much a bye game. Obviously this isn't going to be close. Utah's going to roll here.
I don't have much to say. I haven't looked into Cal Poly's team. Not disrespecting them. I just think the talent gap is going to be a bit too big. So I've got Utah taking this.
Hey, the only way to go undefeated is start 2-0, baby.
That's right.
Is that like you're making a reference to you can't birdie them all if you don't birdie the first golf?
I'm saying maybe a little foreshadowing.
Wow.
That's
undefeated
crazy.
Prediction. You heard it here first.
I did not say that. You put words in my mouth.
Okay, yeah, there's not much to say there. Let's move on to week 3, Wyoming. This, I think, is interesting because it's at Wyoming. Who the hell was scheduling this game? Who was scheduling this? Also, kind of a look-ahead spot. Texas Tech at home, week 4. I think that, it could get a little dicey, especially if we look ahead, but I just don't think Wyoming is good. I just don't think they have the talent to match up with Utah. Like, there's no world in which they stop the run, right? Like, our offensive line is just going to blow them away.
Yeah, I see people saying, "Oh man, this is like they could overlook him. This could be an upset." I actually disagree. I think Wyoming is complete garbage. I think they only had like 3 wins last year or something. Like, I think Utah blows them out even if they are looking ahead. I don't feel worried about this game at all, truthfully. I'm just going to be real. Like, I think Utah has this one in the bag. Maybe the Wyomings of the past a few years ago, they could get a little zesty at home if you were on the road in Wyoming in Laramie, but not.
Yeah.
I don't think so. It still matters the caliber of the team, and they're not a great team.
Yeah, I mean, not much to say. Or not much to add. We're gonna start. Yeah, should be an easy win.
Okay, now comes the start of conference play. Kind of a banger right off the top. Texas Tech at home. Texas Tech, as we know, huge portal additions, number 2 portal class behind LSU, or number 1, depending on what site you look at. They're trying to rebuild everything. Good for them, honestly. Like, I wish Utah had the money to throw around to do it like that. It's exactly how I would do it in this era of college football. I think this is going to be, ranked on ranked matchup. I think it's going to be in a big time spot here for Utah. What do you guys think about this game versus Texas Tech week 4?
I have been just like vacillating back and forth on this game because I'm like, brought in number 2 class. Like, it's also Texas Tech. They kind of need to prove it. The only reason I'm going to go with Utah here is because this is Texas Tech's first road game. I think especially with a team full of transfers, you see sometimes they need more time to mesh. Sometimes it can all fall apart, like Florida State. I'm going to go Utah in this game just because I think Utah's strengths match up with Texas Tech's strengths, which many would say Texas Tech's best position is their D-line. And I think Utah's best position is their offensive line. So I think Texas Tech is going to kind of be playing their first. They play Oregon State earlier, but Oregon State, they're not what they used to be even a couple years ago. I think this is going to be the first game where they're really tested. I think Utah's going to come out and kind of punch them in the mouth on the road. And I think it will be a close, hard-fought game, but I do think Utah will do enough to win. I foresee potentially a couple Baron Morton turnovers. It's kind of a game where Texas Tech is like, okay, we have a little more to go in terms of gelling. This is kind of our first test of the season. So, yeah, I've got Utah here. Close game, but I do think Utah will be able to get the job done.
Yeah, it's intriguing. I think like the double coordinator switches, like obviously offensively, that the coordinator leaving is a little concerning because how awesome their offensive was. The defensive side of the ball is a different story. I think Leftwich, like obviously coming from Texas State, it's gonna be intriguing to see like can he keep that magic going. I mean, I'm not bringing your starting quarterback last year for a team that's scored 37 points per game. That's obviously a positive. I'm just not a huge believer in Baron Morton. Like I truly am not. I don't think he's not super special. I think Texas Tech, they're gonna be good, but they're just not. They're not gonna be able to mesh this quickly. They'll have easy games where they're gonna probably throw out a lot of like, hey, like maybe this will work. Maybe we're up so much against the Arkansas PB, whatever there are, the Kent States of the world, the Oregon States of the world at home. Like they're going to be throwing in new people and try and not have that team meshed up together to go at Utah to Rice Eccles. I think they're going to struggle. I don't know. I don't want to say they're FSU, but like that's just what my brain goes to. I mean, FSU, they bought a defensive line last year and they were projected to be incredible. Like that has to be a concerning and a thought that enters your mind if you're a Texas Tech fan. Like, can these guys, like, yeah, they're awesome and they produced quite a bit last year, but like, was that a system? Was that like, can they mesh well? I mean, a defensive line, like you need some experience and play with each other to really thrive. That's a big concern we have here at Utah. I think it's gonna hurt them that this is their first true matchup, especially coming into Rice Eccles. I think we do get a win here.
So like Landon said, I think that this is strength on strength and kind of almost weakness on weakness too. Last year, Tech's pass defense was terrible. So bad. Like worse than like some FCS teams bad. they obviously, the portal, they rebuilt that entirely. I'm not sure there's a single like returner, new DC, but it's still like a pretty big question mark, because they don't have anyone really like proven there yet. But I mean, is Utah the team that can expose that? Like we were just talking about how there was questions with the wide receivers, questions with Dampier's accuracy. I'm not sure Utah's the team to expose that. And if Utah is, the first 3 games used to running all over people with the offensive line, what happens when they face a truly elite defensive line like Texas Tech? Is there, is there something on offense that maybe throws us out of sync there? I'm kind of worried about it. The more that I look at it, the more I think our best things, I'm not sure we're going to be able to replicate, and we're not going to be able to exploit where their weaknesses are as much. So I think that I'm leaning towards a really tight loss. I think that, Utah, it's not always terrible to have, a loss right at the beginning of the season in conference play. It almost reminds me of, 2022 or 2021 Oregon State, where we just drop a random game that, maybe we make a few errors and they take advantage of us. And then we, like rattle off quite a few in a row. So I kind of see Utah dropping this game here. I think Tech is talented, and I don't think it's going to be a blowout. I don't think it's, an indictment on Utah, but I'm gonna go Tech wins here. 3-1 for me.
That's totally valid. I could for sure see that. It's a game that just, I don't know, man. It so much depends. After 3 weeks, I could be feeling pretty comfortable that Utah could win. And after 3 weeks, I could be feeling completely sure Texas Tech is going to win. You just have to play the games and see, dude.
For sure. Okay, week 4. Week 5, sorry. The Utes travel to Morgantown to face West Virginia. Pretty much the biggest, I think, roster turnover in the country, I think. Rich Rod obviously back there. Rich Rod 2.0. It's going to be high-paced offense. No one has any idea what to expect at all. I mean, they're total wild card. This, to me, is kind of a look-ahead spot. Like, the bye next week, Arizona State coming up 2 weeks after. We've just come off like a really hard-fought game against Texas A&M, win or lose. Are we going to be that locked in for the Mountaineers? I'm not sure. I think I'm going win, but I think this one's going to be really tight. Like, I honestly think that this is not a blowout, in my opinion.
I'm right there with you, dude. I'm telling you, I am so close to predicting this as a loss because Utah typically drops a game that they shouldn't. But just looking at it, we just don't know enough about West Virginia. Like, I could predict this as a loss to Utah and then just like look like a total fool, and West Virginia is like 2-3 going into this game and Utah wins by 30. So I'm going to ride with Utah here. Just a better team, way more established, but I don't love this game. I think that it is a look ahead spot. I think if Dampier throws a few interceptions and our defense is not locked in for this high tempo offense, we could get down like 2 touchdowns and then end up just losing by like a field goal. And at the end of the game, we're like, what just happened?
And it's cross-country travel. Like, you have to remember that as well. Like, we're traveling across the East Coast.
And we're going to flood Morgantown and Sierra Fred, baby.
No.
No, I'm kidding. Rich Rod, it's exciting. West Virginia is one of those teams where it's like, obviously they're in a rebuilding spot, but if anybody can do it at West Virginia, it is Rich Rod. He is, that's the legendary coach over there. It's going to be exciting to see what he can do for this team in the next few years. I don't think they're going to be able to handle this Utah team. I think we're going to be starting off the season 5-0, 5-0 going into a big game next week. Well, I guess not next week, in the next game in Arizona State, and I think we'll win. I don't have much else to say. The fast pace does concern me slightly. I'll be honest. But I think if there is a coordinator that can prepare defense, it is Morgan Scalley. And I think we have, like we talked about earlier in the pod, the athleticism on the defensive side of the ball is excellent for Utah, and I think that's going to really help them hold their own and limit this electric offense for West Virginia to not be able to do what they probably come accustomed to start the season.
Okay, so first bye week of the year. I've got us at 4-1. You guys are both at 5-0. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So after the bye week, Arizona State comes to Salt Lake City, comes to Rice Eccles. I believe they're off a bye as well. So this should be two, fully tested, rested teams at the peak of their games. What do you guys think about this matchup with the Sun Devils?
I'll go first here. I think that Arizona State is going to pull this one out. So for me, this is Utah's first loss on the schedule. Nothing's ever certain in the Big 12, especially. We could get to this game. And every time I predict a loss, I'm going to preface it by saying Utah might win. The homer in me requires that. But I think the Arizona State is a strong team. Sam Levitt, I love him at quarterback. Jordan Tyson out at wide receiver. Just super good all-around squad. I don't think Utah's going undefeated or anything. There's going to be losses on the schedule. I think this is a spot where, Utah's feeling pretty good about themselves, but close, hard-fought game. Arizona State, perhaps Dampier make some mistakes in the passing game, some interceptions, or something they surprise us with something we aren't ready for offensively. So I have Arizona State taking this one, even though it is at home.
Yeah, this is where my first loss comes in. For me, the three big games at home that Utah has this year, we're bound to lose at least one of them. And I think the most likely scenario comes in the ASU game. Obviously they lost Scadaboo, but they're returning 7 guys. I mean, this team is so much more than just Scadaboo that it's kind of scary. This offense, how good this offense can be. I mean, they have the best quarterback, they have the best wide receiver, they probably have the best head coach in the conference. I think this is where Utah kind of gets, I wouldn't say it's going to be a blow up by any means, but they kind of get humbled and like, hey, you're not the best team right now. Go in and you got to earn it. And I think Arizona State's going to kind of put us in our place in that sense of the word. I like them a lot. Kenny Dillingham is a dog. Just it's hard to root against that guy, and he's going to come in and he's going to really get this team ready. And unfortunately, I think Utah does take an L here.
I think Arizona State is a little more talented than Texas Tech, and I think they're a little bit better than them. I said that in the Big 12 preview. But I also think Utah matches up with them a little bit better. ASU's one of their big weaknesses last year was their defensive line. They just didn't have the guys there to really stop the run effectively or rush the passer super effectively. I kind of feel like there's a world in which, this game follows a pattern that really favors Utah. I don't like getting Dilly off a bye. I think he is the best coach in the Big 12, especially offensively. I'm not relishing him having 2 weeks to prepare for this Utah defense. I think that's really bad. But I also think that, the elevation, we're familiar with ASU. This is nothing new to the team. There's no awe factor of playing the 2024 Big 12 champions. I kind of think Utah's going to pull out a tight one here. I think this is going to be their first big win of the season over ASU to really say, Utah's a good team this year. They're really contending for the Big 12. They have the talent, on their day to take out anybody at home, especially. And so I think we're going to be able to establish the run. We're going to control the game, and we're going to win a super, super tight game versus Arizona State. So that means we're all at 5-1, I believe, halfway through the season. Okay. Yeah. And the next game, coming right off the ASU game, is at BYU. So this is in the middle of October. Utah at BYU. What do you guys think about this game?
Yeah, I mean, you can't call it a trap game with it being a rivalry game. Utah, on paper, has the better team this year, but they also had the better team. They had the best team on paper in the Big 12 last year. They went 5-7. You never know with a rivalry game. It's such a toss-up. I can't choose BYU to win this in good conscience, not just because I'm a Utah fan, but they're either going to be starting a true freshman at quarterback or someone like McKay Hillstead, whose ceiling potentially might be quite a bit lower. With how many things went their way last year, just overall throughout the season, I do see Utah also being built with a run-focused team to be able to go to BYU and pull this win out. So I'm predicting a win here for Utah. I think that Utah is going to be ready for this. This will genuinely be BYU's first hard game of the season. Like they still could be at a point where they haven't played a team that's that good yet. So I think Utah's going to be able to surprise them, kind of punch them in the mouth. I mean, Utah should have won the game last year, and that team was kind of a mess. So I think Utah gets the job done this year.
I think Utah is going to go into the Lavelle Edwards Stadium and knock out BYU for the bowl eligibility. It'll be 0-6 to start the year.
Okay.
Utah goes in there and keeps them 0-7. Just keeps them where they should be. Yeah, I think Utah comes out and win here. Start the season 6-1.
I think that, yeah, the rivalry game, it's never going to sneak up on you, especially this rivalry game. The talent, I mean, it does favor Utah pretty significantly. BYU lost a ton on defense. I'm not sure how good they're going to be there. Offensively, lost Retzlaff. They're going to have someone with no experience in the system. Yeah, exactly. It's a rivalry game, so I think it'll be close, but I've got Utah pulling it out here as well. I think that they're going to get hot through this middle portion of the season. After that first bye, I think things set up pretty nicely for them going down the stretch.
In all seriousness, I don't think BYU is going to be a 0-7, but I think Utah's going to easily win this game.
Okay.
Nice. Okay, let's move on to the next game. Colorado at Utah. Bit of a look-ahead spot, bit of a trap game after coming off ASU and BYU. Who knows what Deion will have it, 2/3 of the way through the season. What do you guys think about this game?
Yeah, this is a weird game because, Colorado fans have kind of been selling, oh, we're better this year. Look, we didn't even have to go in the portal. That means we're really comfortable with what we have. And it's like, no, not necessarily. Like, sometimes you just can't get the guys in the portal. You can't do that every year sometimes, especially not at Colorado. I think Colorado will be significantly worse than last year. I've got Utah winning this game. I think Colorado potentially is slightly more well-rounded, but top-tier talent in terms of Shadur, Travis Hunter, Wester, Reed Shepherd, or what was that guy's name? It wasn't Reed Shepherd. Something Shepherd.
Will Shepherd. It was
Shepherd.
Will Shepherd. Yeah.
They've lost a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So I do think Utah's going to be able to take this win. I just think Utah's constructed overall a more solid team.
Yeah, the question marks by the starting quarterback will be Salter, will be Lewis. Deion's health. There's a lot of question marks for Colorado at this part of the season for them. Like, this could be either a team that's pretty good or a team that's pretty mid. I do expect Colorado to decline, losing Hunter, losing Shadur, losing a lot of other production. It's going to be an interesting team because I do think they're going to be quite formidable in the trenches. I think their offensive line, their defensive line is going to be quite good, which is going to be unique because that's not the traditional Colorado team, at least us Utah fans are accustomed to. So I have Utah winning this game. I do think it's going to be it is a little tricky. Having them come to Utah is a help, obviously. So that's nice. But I think Utah wins this game and starts. We're one loss so far to ASU.
I've got Utah winning this as well. Even though this is after ASU and BYU, I don't see them overlooking this game just because of what happened last year. Yeah. Witt typically has a really long memory about stuff like that, and we hadn't lost to Colorado in a long time. When's the last time they beat us in Salt Lake? It had to have been
a long time.
A decade. Yeah, it's been a long time since they beat us in Salt Lake. I don't think they're as good last year. I'm not nearly as worried about Juju Lewis or Caden Salter as I was Shadur and Travis Hunter. So, yeah, I don't think this will be a blowout because I do think Deion has done a good job of, building up a program in Colorado. But I also don't think this is one where I'm super worried about Utah losing. I think that, maybe the difficulty of this game has been overstated maybe a few times. So yeah, I think that's 7-1 for all of us there.
Yep.
Okay, let's go to the next game. Cincinnati at home. This is a really interesting one because have we ever played Cincinnati in our history? If we did, it
can't remember.
Forever ago. I can't remember a game.
Let me check it out.
Yeah, but new team to the Big 12, both us and them. They made the playoffs a few years ago. Not the same coach, not the same team. I think that they're better this year. I think that they definitely have a lot going for them. Brendan Sorsby is a good quarterback. I think the talent is pretty good there. I'm not sure how much I believe in it. I think this is the type of game that, this could be the trap game, maybe more than Colorado, but I still am predicting a Utah win here. I think like I said before, I think this middle part of the season, they're going to get hot because it sets up really well for them. They don't really have to leave the state of Utah for like I think it's like 6 weeks here because they get ASU at home, BYU in Provo, Colorado and Cincinnati in Salt Lake. And so like they don't have to leave Utah for a really long time. I think this part of the schedule is where Utah could get hot. I'm predicting them to win and be 8-1 heading into the last three.
I agree with you. I'm right there with you on this Utah-Cincinnati game. I don't think Cincinnati's in a position or has enough to get it done at home versus Utah. I think especially, Utah's defense has been the model of consistency. If our offense is even like average or like pretty good this year, it should be enough to get the job done against a lot of these teams. So I've got Utah over Cincinnati.
Yeah, it looks like Utah has never played Cincinnati in football in the history for both programs. So that's kind of exciting. I think that Utah does get a win here. I don't think Cincinnati's quite on the same tier as Utah quite yet. I do like their team. I do think they're on like the upward trajectory for their program, especially with their time in the Big 12. But I don't think they're quite there yet. So I will say like, coming off three probably biggest game, some of the bigger games regarding like BYU and Colorado, both rivalry games. You like to call the Colorado game a true rivalry. There's some silliness coming there, but I don't think it's going to be super competitive. And I think Utah comes out with the win. So 8-1 for all of us so far.
Mm-hmm. Okay, now the last three I think are pretty tricky when you look at the schedule. Week 12, Utah at Baylor. Baylor predicted to be one of the better teams in the Big 12. People really buy their offensive resurgence. Dave Aranda maybe fixing some elements of the defense as he's, known as a really great defensive coach. What do you guys think about going to Baylor week 12?
I have a loss here, unfortunately. I don't feel amazing about this pick, truthfully. I think Utah is going to be one of the better teams in the Big 12, but I also think Baylor's dangerous. I think they're the type of team. They had one of the most explosive offenses in the country with Sawyer Robertson, actually. So I think although Utah's defense is solid, I think they're going to have some explosive plays against Utah. Perhaps jump out to an early lead, connect on a few deep shots early. And after that, I could see Utah struggling to claw back and win this game, out there at Baylor. So I have Baylor winning here. I don't feel super strongly about this pick, but I do think if Utah's going to drop a game on the road at Baylor, could be the one for sure. I also really like Baylor's running back they have coming back. I believe his last name's Washington. I watched some of his highlights. He's a dog. Like, he's a dangerous player. So I've got Baylor here.
You guys we're in very similar situations, but also the complete opposite, because like this is one where I struggle with quite a bit. I think, Utah, we kind of in a way have Baylor's number. Last two times we played them, we have beaten them. We came to Baylor. We do have their kryptonite that we played against them with Nate Johnson coming into the game. Who knows? He might have that magic that he pulled off.
Put him back in at quarterback for the Baylor game. You never know.
We played at Baylor. It's interesting because, like, at least from my understanding with Baylor, they usually tend to get pretty hot at the end of the year. It'll be nice to not have to play in the surface of the sun down in they're Waco, right? Or am I
Waco, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it won't be like the 2023, I think it was.
November 15th.
It was so hot.
November 15th this year.
It's still pretty dang hot in Texas down in November, but it's definitely not as rough. And so that'd be nice for some of the players to experience that. I do think this is where my second loss comes in, similar to Landon. I do really like the Baylor offense, and then like Tanner brought up with Aranda, he's a great defensive mind, and so I do think they're going to turn around. I think they're one of the premier teams this year in the Big 12. So I do think Utah does struggle away here and takes that L here against Baylor.
Yeah, I've got the loss as well. I think I don't like the spot of playing them at the end of the year because I think that Aranda is a good enough coach that whatever they're deficient in, he'll be able to like adjust. Like I think that we've seen that before with him. They've gotten better over the year. Even like when they won the Big 12 title, I'm pretty sure they switched their quarterback like a couple weeks before the Big 12 title game and they won it. So I think he's a pretty good tinkerer, as you see, as they go, win their last 6 regular season games last year. I think the defense will be improved. I think the offense is explosive. Yeah, I've got a loss here too. I think that Baylor's a really good team this year. Let's move on to Kansas State. Week 13, Kansas State at Utah. This could be a game with huge conference implications. Second to last week of the season, Kansas State, who could be in the mix with Utah, who at 8 and if we all had 8-2, would definitely be in the mix for the Big 12. They'd for sure be in the mix for the Big 12. I think this one is interesting because I think if I was a Kansas State fan, I would look at this game and be like, wow, like we really got screwed with the scheduling here. Like I don't think anyone wants to go to Utah in late November. Like this could be extremely cold. This could be, terrible conditions, honestly. And combined with the elevation, I think that's a tough place to play. Avery Johnson, on the road, he's been loose, thrown in some interceptions. I think Kansas State is good everywhere, but not really spectacular anywhere, but they're good all over. I think this is going to be a havoc game. I think Utah's going to force turnovers, and I think they're going to be able to run the ball, especially in that late November slot. And I've got them beating Kansas State. I think they're going to beat Kansas State at home here, week 12.
Man, I could for sure see that. And there's a part of me that just wants to pull out just a coin flip right now. Because this game, I don't know. I'm leaning towards, I think of this more honestly as a big picture versus specific game. I don't think Utah's going to go 10-2, and I think they're more likely to lose to Kansas State than Kansas. So I have Utah losing this game. I understand and I totally get everything you're saying about Avery Johnson's been a bit loose on the road. It's going to be cold out there. He might make some bad decisions. Our secondary, we're going to be trying to force a lot more turnovers. I see why Utah can win this game, but I don't know. I'm going to go with Kansas State here. I'm just kind of feeling that, even though, kind of be classic Utah win at home here. But I think I just got to go Kansas State. Like, I'm not high enough on this Utah team to be predicting 10-2. And I don't want to spoil my pick for Kansas or anything, but I do think Utah does take a loss here to Kansas State. The upside here, if you are thinking from the Kansas State perspective, this theoretically should be the best Avery Johnson you see of the season. Second full year of starting, perhaps more dialed in. Some of those transfer receivers they've brought in have had more time to mesh. Kansas State.
And I don't think
team,
this is
they've always kind of done better at the end of the year as well. Like they win like 8-9 games every year. So I think this could be a nice win for Kansas State. Maybe this is the game where they finally break through that barrier, make the Big 12 championship.
For all the points that Tanner hit, I really he kind of hit it right the hammer on the head, the nail right on the head. And with the time of the year, Avery Johnson being a little loose, I'm not a real firm believer in Avery Johnson. From what I've seen from him, I just don't see the vision as much as everybody else does. I think he's good, but I don't think he's as good as everyone says he is. So with that being said, I think Utah does get a win here. I think it kind of really sets us up to compete for the Big 12 championship with a big solid win against Kansas State here at home.
Okay, so Landon at 8-3, Ethan and I at 9-2 so far. Last game of the season at Kansas. Interesting, we get the Sunflower State back to end the season. This is at Kansas, though. The brand new stadium that they're opening, or maybe not brand new, maybe renovated stadium that they're opening. Jalen Daniels is back. He was healthy all last year. Had some bad luck, honestly similar to Utah in that way. What do you guys think about this Kansas game? What do you think, Landon?
I've got Utah winning this. I think this is one that, you might look at it, it's a trap game. I think this is one of Utah's biggest wins of the season. I think they win by 30 this game. And I know that's kind of a bold prediction, but I truthfully think after losing to Kansas State, I feel like Utah's going to go on the road at Kansas and take out their anger a little bit. I think Kansas is not going to be much better than last year. I know that they lost some close games, but Jalen Daniels played the entire season healthy, and he just straight up wasn't that good. And like this is Kansas we're talking about, not necessarily a program that is going to reload. So I think Kansas they'll be okay. They won't be bad, but I do think Utah is going to get a pretty dominant win at Kansas to end the year.
Yeah, I mean, it's the fifth ever matchup against Kansas in Utah's history. It's a 2-2. I think Utah goes into Kansas and takes a big win there. Um, I wouldn't be surprised if Jalen Daniels not playing this game. Like that's my
Yeah,
big
that's a
one. Like,
factor too. He stayed healthy one
he's
year, but who says he stays healthy next
he's
year?
he's been injury prone, and I don't know who's gonna help them out if he's gone. Like who's their backup quarterback? I'm not very familiar. I mean, I wouldn't think he's going to be as good as Jalen Downs would be. Losing Devin Neal, I believe they had a few corners that are gone as well that were really good. I just don't. I just don't. I've never been a huge believer in Kansas for football, but I mean, it is interesting. I mean, playing at the new stadium. I mean, they could be fighting for bowl game here. They could be fighting for. I mean, who knows where they'll be at the start of the season. They could be completely fighting for nothing, but still want to win this game, or they could be legit pushing for a bowl game and all these other things. And so I think Utah will take them seriously and get a good win away from home and set us up nicely for the rest of the season. Hopefully, some playoff stuff.
I like both of your points, and I could easily see it going that way. Maybe Kansas doesn't have much to play for, but I've just got this, this itch in the back of my mind that they are going to have something to play for, whether that's bowl eligibility, whether that's being a contender in the Big 12. I kind of feel like this is going to be a big one for Kansas, and I kind of think it's a letdown spot for Utah. I predicted them to beat Kansas State. I think they're coming in 9-2. Everything on the table for them, probably in some kind of tiebreaker scenario for the Big 12 championship. And I think they trip up. I think they're going to lose to Kansas. I think that Utah overall is better than Kansas is. I think they have more talent. I think they have better coaching. But I don't know. There's just something I can't shake about this game. And I think there's going to be one game this year where it's just a head scratcher for Utah. And I think this is kind of the letdown spot. This is the one where the pressure is going to be amped up so high. If they are 9-2, if they go 10-2, even if they miss out on the Big 12 championship, there's still something that could be said for the playoffs. I think they're going to end 9-3. I'm predicting a loss to Kansas here. So for the overall schedules, I chose 9-3. Landon, you were 9-3 as well, correct? And Ethan, you were 10-2.
Yes, sir.
It's pretty high. I mean, Vegas over-under is only 7.5.
Yeah, juice over. So I think Vegas expects us to win 8. So we're all out shooting projections a bit, but we're Utah fans. What can you say?
Yeah.
Okay.
We're being a little too rough on them. Let's be honest. We're going undefeated.
Yeah.
Undefeated, 12-0, no comp, right?
Not even close. Utah's gonna run the Big 12.
So something I think would be interesting is let's each go through and choose one X factor for the season. It could be anything. Could be coaching, could be scheme, could be players, could be a certain game. Just anything that really sticks out to you.
Yeah, I mean, this is so dumb, but I think the X factor is going to be health. It always is. Health for our team and health for our opponents. Matchups completely change based on who's getting injured, when and where. Like if Sam Leavitt is injured for Arizona State when we play them, I'm picking Utah to win. Like health is always, I would even say it's the great X factor. You never know. So
yeah,
hopefully Utah
and these
can
predictions,
stay healthy.
These predictions are even like, who knows how they change by the time we get to game week, I'd say it's more of like the overall record we predict is more important than like individual games,
Yes, and so
say.
Even last year you can say, oh, your guys' predictions like were pretty dumb. I think I predicted Utah to go like 10-2. And it's just like I could not have predicted that Cam would be out the entire season. He literally missed the whole season. So yeah.
Damn cooler took him out, man.
Yeah, dude. So the injuries, health is the X factor in my opinion.
Yeah, for me, I think that this to me is the one that just sticks in my mind. It may be obvious, but it's Devin Dampier. I think that having a quarterback this dynamic, that national people have picked up on that, highlight reel type of guy, someone that could be really fun to watch. I just feel like Utah's been missing that. Like, we have to be like one of the lowest watchability teams in the country over the last like 3 or 4 years. I mean, every game is just a slog. So if we can find someone to break us out of that, to create explosive plays, to bring some life and some juice back to this Utah football program, to me, that's an X factor. Because regardless of our record, if the games are fun to watch, then I'm happy with that.
Yeah.
Like, I want Utah to win every single game, but like, I don't know.
Agreed.
I want to score some points. I want to be exciting.
For me, my X factor, it's actually gonna be Kyle Whittingham. We talked about it briefly, but we always blamed OC, and I think there's some validity when it comes to blaming Andy Ludwig. I think that's a definite factor where he definitely held us back the last few years regarding the offense. But I do think Kyle Whittingham has a huge role in that also. I think the last few years, personally, I don't see the chip that Whittingham has had the 20 years he's been with the program. The mistakes that were made for the defensive side of the ball, offensive side of the ball, special teams, Kyle Whittingham would never let that fly in the past, and he would always be in their face, always be. You can visibly see his frustration. The last few years, it's been gone, and I've kind of felt like I've seen it back here. So with some of these interviews and some of the things I've seen and heard from other people in the media and players and just all these things where it's like that fire is lit under Witt again. And I think this is the year where like it's going to kind of come back. And I think it's going to really allow us to kind of be back to where Utah's used to being. I mean, the last few years, I think that's the outliers. That's not the normal. The normal is Utah being an 8 to 9 win team and competing for conference championships. And I think a big factor, we talked about it briefly, but if Witt lets Beck run the offense, this is going to be a lot more fun team to watch, like Tanner said. And that's ultimately the goal, is to be a fun team and to win games. And I think if Beck can run the offense, Utah will be a fun team, and I think we'll win games. And Witt just needs to let him do it.